There is something sacred about admitting the truth. Even if it's messy, even if it scares you. When you speak it out loud, the chains begin to loosen. Not because the problem disappears, but because you're no longer carrying it alone in the dark. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to pretend? Pretending you're fine. Pretending it doesn't hurt. Pretending you're not lost. It's a heavy mask to wear. And yet, so many of us wear it every day. Why? Because we think people only love the version of us that's polished and put together. But the truth is, the most powerful connections come when we're unguarded. When we say, "This is me, struggling, but still showing up." There is a quiet rebellion in choosing to feel. In a world that pushes distraction, choosing presence is radical. Turning off the noise, sitting with the silence, letting it speak. You'll be surprised by what you hear when you stop trying to drown it out. Some realities aren't yours to carry. Sometimes what you're running from isn't even your weight. It's someone else's expectations, someone else's guilt, someone else's silence. And when you realize that, something inside you shifts. You stop trying to fix what you didn't break. And then comes the question we all ask at some point. How did I end up here? The answer is rarely simple, but there's strength in taking ownership, in saying, maybe I built this life, but I can also rebuild it, brick by brick, thought by thought, choice by choice. There's beauty in the cracks, the places where your plans fell apart, the dreams that didn't come true, because now you're not just living a script, you're writing one that's rooted in reality, not illusion. And that kind of life, it's messy, but it's also honest. And it's yours. When you stop running, you begin to see things clearly. You start noticing what's always been there, the kindness in someone's eyes, the softness in your own heart, the resilience in your spirit. None of those things needed perfection. They just needed spaced out, and when you make peace with reality, you're no longer its prisoner. You become its partner. You stop fighting the current and start moving with it, letting it carry you not away, but forward. You don't need a dramatic transformation to reclaim your life. Just a decision, a moment of awareness, a breath where you say, this is where I am, and from here, I rise. Because rising doesn't always look like triumph. Sometimes it looks like getting out of bed when everything in you says stay down. Sometimes it looks like trying again, or forgiving again, or believing again. This is where your strength begins. We live in a world full of distractions. From the moment we wake up, something is pulling us away from ourselves. Notifications, deadlines, obligations. And beneath all that noise, there's a quiet truth we often try not to hear. That truth is reality. Not the version we post online, not the story we tell others, but the one we live with when we close our eyes. And yet, how often do we try to run? We run from discomfort, from loss, from change. We convince ourselves that if we don't look, the pain might disappear. But pain isn't a mistake. Pain is a messenger. It shows up not to break us, but to warn us, to ask us gently or loudly, are you paying attention? Think about how often we bury ourselves in busy schedules, endless scrolling, or shallow conversations just to avoid the real stuff. Because real means vulnerable, and vulnerable means exposed. But here's the twist no one tells you. There is more strength in standing still and feeling than there is in running forever. If you've ever felt like your life is slipping by while you try to hold it together, you're not alone. And the truth is, holding it together isn't always the answer. Sometimes the breakthrough comes when we stop trying to escape and finally admit, I'm tired, I'm afraid, I don't know what comes next. There's a quiet kind of courage in facing yourself. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't ask for applause, but it transforms everything. Because when we choose to face the reality we've been avoiding, we take back our power. We say, "This is mine to carry, and I won't let it bury me." The reality you're afraid of might not be as terrifying as you think. Maybe it's just waiting for you to listen. And maybe, just maybe, it holds the map to the life you've been searching for. God never wastes pain. He uses it. Even when we don't understand, even when we beg for escape, He's working in the real, not in the fantasy. So what would happen if today you stopped running? What if you turned around and faced it? Not with shame, not with judgment, but with grace, with honesty, with faith that even here, even now, something sacred is unfolding. We all carry mirrors inside us. Some are fogged by fear, others shattered by old wounds. But every day we refuse to look, we drift a little further from who we were meant to be. The truth isn't what breaks you. It's what begins to set you free. What do you think about what you've seen so far? Has it stirred something inside you? Thank you deeply for staying with me until now. Your presence means more than you know. And I promise you, the most powerful parts of this journey are still ahead. Let's talk about pain, not as punishment, but as invitation. Pain is the teacher. That never lies. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't sugarcoat. It simply shows us where it hurts and why. And in that honesty, something begins to heal. Because when we feel pain, we are alive. And when we face it, we begin to live differently. There are moments in life that shake everything we thought we knew. A diagnosis, a betrayal, a loss. These moments strip away illusion and leave us exposed to what is real. But don't mistake that rawness for weakness. Sometimes being broken open is what allows the light to finally get in. Faith isn't the absence of struggle. It's what you choose to believe in the middle of it. Maybe God isn't removing the mountain because He's using it to strengthen your legs. Maybe the storm isn't punishment, but preparation. And maybe your most honest prayer is simply, "Help me stay." Facing truth doesn't mean we stop being afraid. It means we stop letting fear decide. It's waking up and choosing to speak the words we've avoided, to feel what we've numbed, to love even with trembling hands. That's real bravery. Reality often shows up uninvited. In the silence after the argument, in the waiting room, in the mirror. And yet, it's in those moments that we are most fully human. Not perfect, not polished, just present. And in that presence, there is power. Sometimes, what we call strength is just sophisticated denial. We smile, we perform, we keep going. But inside, we're exhausted. And reality whispers, you don't have to fake it anymore. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to feel. And when you finally do, you'll notice something strange. The world doesn't end. The sun still rises. People still love you. And you are still standing. Maybe even taller. We often think we have to fix everything at once. That facing reality means solving every problem overnight. But that's not how healing works. It starts small, with one honest moment, one breath, one decision to stop running. In those moments of stillness, we find something we weren't looking for: peace. Not the kind the world gives, but the kind that settles deep in your soul when you know you're no longer hiding. And maybe that's the start of something new. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is tell yourself the truth, not the version that protects your pride, the real one, the one that stings a little, the one that says, "I've been avoiding this for too long." And in that moment, a door opens, not outside of you, but within. We often wait for perfect timing, for clarity, for a sign. But what if the sign is already here? What if the tension you feel, the unrest that keeps you awake at night, that is your sign, not to panic, but to pause, to listen, to ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? There's a voice in all of us that knows the way. It's not loud. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And it usually gets drowned out by fear, by noise, by everyone else's opinions. But the more we listen, the more it grows. And that voice always leads us toward truth. Facing your reality doesn't mean giving up your dreams. It means grounding them, taking them out of the clouds and planting them in soil. Soil that's messy and imperfect, but real, and real dreams. They grow roots. They survive storms. People might not always understand your journey. That's okay. They don't have to. You weren't born to live someone else's script. You were born to write your own, even if your pen shakes, even if your hands are tired, even if you're starting late. You'll stumble. You'll second guess. You'll want to run back to the comfort of denial. That's part of it. But every time you choose honesty over escape, you grow. Not all at once, but steadily. Like a tree pressing through frozen ground toward the light. Sometimes the most spiritual act is to sit with what is. To stop begging for escape and instead say, God, help me see what I need to see right here. Not later. Not when it's easier. Now. Forgiveness becomes possible in reality. Not before, because you can't forgive what you won't face. You can't release what you pretend isn't there. But once you do, once you admit what hurt, what broke, what scarred, you give yourself permission to let go. The future isn't built on avoidance. It's built on truth. Not the kind that shouts in anger, but the kind that stands quietly and says, this happened, and I'm still here. And maybe that's the beginning of something sacred. Not loud, not flashy, but real. Healing doesn't happen in denial. It happens in daylight, in the light of truth, in the warmth of honesty. Not when we pretend to be okay, but when we finally say, this is where it hurts. That's where grace begins to move. There's no shame in not having all the answers. No weakness in saying, I'm still figuring it out. Life isn't a performance. It's a process. And every person you admire has had their moment of sitting alone with hard truths. You're not behind. You're becoming. Sometimes it takes walking through the fire to see what's truly worth holding on to. The illusions burn away. The distractions fall off. And what remains? Faith, purpose, truth. Those are the things you build on. You'll never conquer what you keep avoiding. You can't outrun reality forever. At some point, your soul will ask you to return, to make peace with what was, to accept what is, and to choose what will be with open eyes. The truth doesn't ruin your life. It reshapes it. Like a sculptor removing what doesn't belong, truth makes space for something deeper to emerge. It hurts, but it also reveals. It breaks, but it also builds. Some of your greatest growth will come in silence, in the moments when no one sees your battle, when the applause fades and the spotlight dims. That's where integrity is forged. In the hidden, honest places, peace isn't found in control. It's found in surrender. Not in giving up, but in giving over to something higher, wiser, more eternal. To the God who sees beyond what you can understand and still calls you forward. Reality is a teacher. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't entertain. But it always tells the truth. And when you stop fighting it, you realize it's not your enemy. It's your ally. It's what wakes you up. There is strength in softness, in allowing yourself to cry, to grieve, to pause. The world may tell you to toughen up, to keep moving. But healing asks something gentler. It asks for your presence, your breath, your trust. And when you finally give yourself those things, something begins to shift. The weight lightens. The fear softens. And you remember, you were never meant to carry this alone.